top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippines has detected its first 2 cases of the Omicron subvariant BA.2.75, also known as the Centaurus variant.
The Department of Education is working with local governments to remove quarantine facilities inside public schools as the resumption of classes approaches.
Amid tensions between the United States and China, the Department of Foreign Affairs is watching developments relating to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Asia.
And know why future car buyers will soon be required to prove they have sufficient garage or parking space before they are permitted to buy one.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, August 2, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Philippines has detected its first 2 cases of the Omicron BA.2.75 subvariant, also known as Centaurus. According to DOH officer in charge, Maria Rosario Vergere, the 2 patients who were both from Western Visayas have made a full recovery. She stated that their exposure and travel histories have yet to be confirmed. One of the patients was partially vaccinated while the other was unvaccinated. The Centaurus subvariant is known for its rapid spread. It originally appeared in India in May and has since spread to around 10 nations, including the United States, Britain, Germany, and Australia. Meanwhile, the country has also detected 1,015 additional cases of the Omicron BA.5, 26 more cases of BA.4, and 18 new cases of the BA.2.12.1. The latest figures raised the country's total to 3,012 BA.5 cases, 172 BA.2.12.1 cases, and 97 BA.4 cases.
Despite the outbreaks, the government sees no reason to delay the opening of classes this month. The Department of Education, or DepEd, also wants COVID-19 quarantine facilities out of the campuses before the school reopens. Nel Maribuhok will tell us the details.
Prior to the school year 2022 to 2023, the Department of Education, or DepEd, is collaborating with local government units to clear out the quarantine facilities. DepEd spokesperson Michael Powa was unable to immediately mention how many schools were still used as quarantine facilities. However, Powa noted that the agency is also coordinating with the LGUs to make sure that every school, particularly those in remote areas, has clinics and health facilities.
We are trying to coordinate with the LGUs to make sure na ma-clear out po natin mga to para makapagbalik eskwela po tayo sa August 22.
The official added that the Brigada Eskwela included efforts to ensure the availability of facilities for health and sanitation.
Yan po ang isa sa mga targets ng ating Brigada Eskwela this year. Kailangan natin siguraduhin na kahit yung mga basic lang po, wala pa nga tayo dun sa clinic, yung mga wash basins lang po ng mga schools, siguradong may station sila para maghugas ng mga kamay. Sinisigurado po natin lahat yan, and we are coordinating with the LGUs para dun naman po sa mga clinics, health facilities ng ating mga schools.
Based on DepEd data, the number of enrolled learners for this school year has breached 13 million. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Despite the impact of strong magnitude 7 earthquake that rocked Abra province and left portions of northern Luzon in ruins, schools in the Cordillera Administrative Region, or CAR, will resume on August 22 as planned. According to DepEd CAR Director Estela Carino, despite the worst-case scenario of completely destroyed schools or instructors or students suffering psychological trauma from the earthquake, DepEd cannot delay school reopening. Carino pleaded with parents and other stakeholders to understand the situation in order to continue providing high-quality education despite the impacts of the earthquake. She also mentioned that for teachers and students affected by the earthquake, psychosocial help will be offered from August 15 to August 19.
The Commission on Higher Education supports President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s plan for the return of the Reservist Officers Training Corps, also known as ROTC. CHED Chairperson Prospero de Vera III said they will submit their proposals to the President for the revisions of ROTC and the National Training Service Program. Once ROTC will be required for senior high school students, the current optional 2-year training at higher education institutions would be transformed into an advanced ROTC program. The planned program aims to develop officers who can be enlisted in the National Service Reserve Corps or the Armed Forces.
100% full support kami dyan sa statement ng ating Pangulo dahil matagal na naming pinag-aaralan ito. In fact, 4 years ago, meron na kaming plano o meron na nakahanda na kung ano ang revision na mangyayari sa NSTP pagkakaroon na ng ROTC sa senior high.
The Philippines is keeping an eye on developments surrounding U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Asia in light of China's warnings that its military will not sit idly by if the Congresswoman goes through with her rumored stopover in Taiwan. Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza stated it is critical for the U.S. and China to maintain their communication in order to prevent any errors in judgment and further escalation of tensions. In a press briefing on Monday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said the travel by Pelosi to Taiwan would blatantly interfere in China's domestic affairs and seriously undermine China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Zhao added that the Chinese People's Liberation Army won't relax and that China is fully prepared for any event.
China is pursuing economic opportunities in Solomon Island, posing strategic threats to Australia. Maeve and Doug will tell us why live. Good evening, Maeve.
Good evening, Elsie. The state-owned China Forestry Group Corporation is eyeing a number of projects on the island of Kulumbangara in Solomon Islands, including a deep water port and an airstrip of interest to China. Solomon Islands Member of Parliament Silas Tauzinga believes that China's ambition to establish a military foothold in the South Pacific country remains strong and should be a matter of concern for Australia. Members of the plantation company's board, Kulumbangara Forest Products Limited or KFPL, wrote to Australia's Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong in May, asking for financial assistance to prevent China from taking control of the port and establishing a base under the cover of commercial development. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong's office responded, saying that they will continue to engage with the KFPL regarding the potential sale, further stating that Australia is committed to face their shared challenges as the Solomon Islands' first security and development partner of choice. In 2019, the Solomons severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan in favor of Beijing. And since then, China has mobilized funds to support the Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Maeve and Doug, reporting live from Australia. Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of Al-Qaeda, was assassinated by the U.S. in a drone strike in Afghanistan. U.S. President Joe Biden reiterated his position that terrorists cannot have a safe haven in Afghanistan. Beverly Saison will tell us why.
Speaking from the White House Blue Room's balcony, President Joe Biden announced to the nation the killing of Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a U.S. drone strike in Afghanistan. The American president said the militant's death means al-Zawahiri will not make Afghanistan a terrorist safe haven again.
He made videos, including in recent weeks, calling for his followers to attack the United States and our allies. Now, justice has been delivered. and this terrorist leader is no more. People around the world no longer need to fear the vicious and determined killer. The United States continues to demonstrate our resolve and our capacity to defend the American people against those who seek to do us harm.
It has been nearly a year after U.S. troops withdrew from the two-year war against Afghanistan. The Al-Qaeda leader and one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks died Sunday in his safe house in Kabul, where the U.S. undertook a precision drone strike. President Biden hopes that this action resulting to the death of al-Zawahiri would bring one more bit of closure to the families of the 9/11 victims. According to a senior administration official, the president's decision has made the world a safer place. He also reiterated that the president has always said he will not allow Afghanistan to become a safe haven for terrorists. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The fight for the existing monkeypox vaccines have started amid the increasing numbers of monkeypox cases. Ryuji Sasaki will give us the details live. Yes, Ryuji?
Good evening, Elsie. The World Health Organization reports more than 20,000 cases of the monkeypox disease around the world, and 35 countries are racing to acquire doses of the existing 16.4 million monkeypox vaccines. In the recent International AIDS Conference, WHO Director of Global HIV, Hepatitis and Sexually Transmitted Infections Program, Meg Doherty says that it is possible that bidding for doses will occur between high-income countries, while low-income countries may be at risk of falling out. Doherty says that the World Health Organization will continue to call for worldwide equity and will also address the rising cases in other countries, not just the Europe and the North Americas. She also added the WHO have been in discussions with Japan in developing another vaccine, and that 100 million smallpox vaccines are also currently available. However, she mentioned that these vaccines would be less viable at this time due to its potential side effects. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, for that live report. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Elsie. Meanwhile, when arriving in the Philippines, international travelers are instructed to disrobe their sleeves. This is one of the actions taken by authorities to prevent the rise of the monkeypox virus. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
Lesions in hand areas are the most common manifestation of monkeypox infection. The Bureau of Quarantine intends to primarily observe such symptom of the viral disease in international passengers arriving in the country. So the agency would like to have a good visual of passengers' hands upon their arrival in airports and seaports.
So we are really very meticulous. Nakita nyo naman po kanina, di ba? Dinidisrobe natin yung mga jackets na hanggat maaari makita natin yung mga signs and symptoms na kailangan nating makita.
The Bureau of Quarantine has been stringently implementing measures against monkeypox, especially those coming from countries with confirmed cases. This after the World Health Organization declared the said viral disease as public health emergency of international concern. Another protocol the agency implements is checking the passenger's temperature through thermal scanners. If any passengers will show a temperature of 37.5 degrees Celsius or higher, they will be further evaluated. But the Bureau admits it is a challenging scenario for asymptomatic passengers.
What if the passenger comes from other country, pass through our scanner without fever? Okay, so isang challenge po yun kasi hindi naman po lahat nagpe-present with fever. And then after the fever, yung rashes tsaka lang po yan magde-develop.
In this case, the Bureau of Quarantine advises international passengers to notify them of any symptoms that may show once they are already back home and immediately go to the nearest hospital. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health declared that despite the discovery of the first case of monkeypox in the Philippines, border closure is not yet necessary. However, the agency asserts that the nation has been well prepared for a long time to stop the spread of the virus. JP Nunez will tell us why live. Yes, JP.
Harleen, in order to ensure that the nation has been prepared for the prevention of monkeypox virus, guidelines on how to treat patients with symptoms of the disease have already been sent to medical professionals. The Department of Health said testing, surveillance, detection, and prevention has been in place to prepare hospitals in the country for the possible spread of monkeypox. DOH Officer in Charge Maria Rosario Vergere stated that the Research Institute of Tropical Medicine, or RITM, is capable of testing at least 1,000 samples daily to identify the monkeypox virus. The Philippine Genome Center is also highly capable of monkeypox virus genomic sequencing.
The country is ready to manage our monkeypox cases. The country is ready to do surveillance for the monkeypox transmission. Tayo po ay nakapag-umpisa ng maghanda simula pa po nung Mayo ng taon na ito para po dito sa sakit na ito.
Vergere added there is no need to establish a task force to monitor and address the monkeypox situation.
The answer to that would be no. We don't need to create another IATF. We already have one. We are just waiting for its reconstitution, and it can be used and it can be applicable, that it can provide the response needed for monkeypox.
Harleen, authorities continually urge the general public to be vigilant and adhere to the minimum public health standards in order to stop the spread of the monkeypox virus. That is our latest live. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Quezon City. The first patient in the nation to have monkeypox is still recovering. The Department of Health said the close contacts of the index patient continued to be asymptomatic without any signs of the virus. The patient, a 31-year-old Filipino national, entered the country on July 19 after visiting other nations where there have been reported cases of monkeypox. 10 close contacts were also identified by the DOH.
The government has already established a course of action to address the International Criminal Court's investigation into the administration of the former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. The former president is also ready to defend himself against accusations, but in local courts. Dante Amento tells us why.
Solicitor General Minardo Guevara explained that as the country's chief architect of foreign policy, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has the authority to determine what international organizations the Philippines may join considering our national security. This is Guevara's reaction to the chief executive's decision not to rejoin the International Criminal Court or ICC. Solgen Guevara added, the government's legal team on the ICC investigation has agreed on how to handle the case. But the agencies involved, such as the President's Office, the Solicitor General's Office, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Foreign Affairs, are studying further for the implementation of the President's agreed course of action. Meanwhile, former presidential spokesperson Attorney Roque emphasized that the country's justice system is working to prosecute criminal cases. As a result, there is no need for the International Criminal Court or ICC to come in and investigate former President Duterte's war on drugs. Roque added, even former President Rodrigo Duterte is willing to face all possible charges against him in the Philippines courts over the anti-drug campaign.
Ngayong hindi na siya presidente at wala ng immunity from suit, ay kinakailangan maghain ng kanilang demanda dito po sa Pilipinas sa Piskalya. Haharapin po niya ang Pilipinong West at kung siya'y mapapatunayan nagkakasala, siya po ay mananatili sa kulungan ng Pilipinas.
Attorney Cristina Conte, counsel for drug war complaints in the ICC, denounced the president's action. According to Conte, there seems to have been no genuine investigation of the country's anti-illegal drugs campaign.
Hindi naman po namin sinasabi na sarado ang mga korte o kaya hindi gumagana ang hustisya sa Pilipinas. Ang aming pong punto dito sa war on drugs ay wala pong nangyayari. At dahil ang posisyon namin na ito po ay polisiya, mismong gobyerno ay pagtatakpan ito. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na impunity or kawalang pananagutan para dito.
She adds the ICC is the appropriate court to prosecute, especially if the respondents are heads of state and other high-ranking government officials. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles stand firm in President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s decision not to rejoin the International Criminal Court or ICC. The Secretary said it is a national issue.
Ang hindi natin pagbabaliktan sa ICC ay issue ng soberanya. Hindi po sa kasalukuyan, iniimbestigahan naman po ang mga reklamo ukol dun sa mga namamatay during the drug war. Kung kaya't hindi na nangangailangan pang tumugon sa ICC o bumalik ang ating bansa sa Rome Statute.
Ukraine's first grain shipment finally sets sail from the Odessa port months after Russia's invasion and blockade. Iya De Vera will give us the details live. Yes, Iya?
Elsie, Ukraine's first grain shipment on Monday was enabled in partnership with the UN for the intention of easing the global food crisis after the conflict between Russia and Ukraine further resulted in a worldwide grain shortage. The European Commission spokesperson Peter Stano gave his remarks regarding this event.
The Union welcomes the departure of the first commercial ship from the port of Odessa following the signature of the Black Sea Grain Initiative on 22nd July after months of blockage by Russia. And this is a welcome first step towards mitigating the global food crisis, which was enhanced by Russia's illegitimate aggression and blockage of aggression against Ukraine, blockage of Ukrainian ports.
Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba also expressed his hope in the deal to eventually lead to a ceasefire and lasting peace. The Kremlin expressed positive feedback on the export, says spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. On Monday, the Sierra Leone flagged ship Razoni, headed to Lebanon, transported 26,000 tons of corn. Agreements made on the deal includes the monitoring of grain loading on ships by Turkey, Ukraine, and UN staff to make sure no weapons are loaded, and an automatic identification system on Razoni will provide a safety tracker for the vessel as it moves through the mined paths on the Black Sea. LC Turkey confirmed more ships would follow once Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa regains full capacity in the weeks to come. LC?
Thank you for that live report, Iya De Vera. Russian lawmakers introduced a bill to the lower house of the nation's parliament that would forbid citizens of unfriendly nations from adopting Russian children. The authors of the bill said that sending their children to be raised in hostile nations is detrimental to the future of their country. If a given country ceases to perform unfriendly actions against Russia, the bill allows for the adoption bans to be raised in the future. The United States, the United Kingdom, all of the European Union's member states, as well as Japan and South Korea, are now on Russia's list of hostile nations. At least 37 people are confirmed dead, while hundreds are still missing in what is said to be one of the deadliest and devastating flooding Kentucky has faced in a lifetime. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Elsie. Numerous households reaching more than 12,000 remain without power, and hundreds of homes and businesses flooded as heavy rain pounded Kentucky, raising fears of further flooding that has already killed 37 people. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said the death toll would continue to rise as hundreds remained unaccounted for. The governor calls the flash flooding the deadliest and most devastating in his lifetime, and that the damage on roads, bridges, and other infrastructure will cost millions to repair. Meanwhile, Beshear stated in a press conference that their main goal right now is to get the victims stable in an intermediate housing type situation.
Now, we ordered 200 trailers for Western Kentucky, which we believed we easily needed, given the number of people out there. But certainly the travel trailers are going to be a really big piece of it. And looking at all the different housing options.
Overnight curfews have been declared in 2 devastated counties amid reports of excessive looting. With climate-related calamities like wildfires, extreme heat, and prolonged drought is facing other states, Kamala Harris traveled Miami on Monday to announce a $1 billion package to deal with the disasters exacerbated by the climate crisis.
Today, our administration is investing more than $1 billion through FEMA to fund climate-resilient projects in 343 cities, towns, and counties around our nation.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has declared the floods a major disaster and also ordered federal aid to help the local rescuers. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
Over 4 million indigent senior citizens are set to benefit from a new law which will double their monthly social pension from 500 pesos to 1,000 pesos. The law, which amended the expanded Senior Citizens Act of 2010, lapsed into law on July 30, based on a letter from the palace shared by Senate Majority Leader and the bill's sponsor in the Senate, Joel Villanueva. Under the law, the distribution and implementation of the social pension will be transferred from the Department of Social Welfare and Development to the National Commission of Senior Citizens. The commission will be in charge of cleaning up the list and formulate guidelines on who will qualify as indigent senior citizens. Options shall also be made available to beneficiaries to ensure a practical and fast distribution, such as electronic transfer or other modes of delivery. Any transaction or service fees shall not be charged to the beneficiary. It also mandates the DSWD, with the approval of the Department of Budget and Management and in consultation with other stakeholders, to review and adjust the amount of the social pension every 2 years when necessary. Villanueva admits the funding of the program will be a challenge in its immediate implementation. But the lawmaker cites possible fund sources, including the taxes collected from the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGO. Villanueva hopes the funding for the law will be included in the 2023 National Expenditure Program that will be submitted to Congress.
Most likely may implement next year, but then there are some things that might happen na may hindi nagagalaw, pwedeng dun dalhin o panggastos dun dalhin, no? But be that as it may, importante talaga dito mabantayan that we'll be able to fund this particular measure.
Meanwhile, the Senior Citizens Party List appeals for the swift implementation of the law. Representative Rodolfo Ompong Ordanes urges implementing agencies to implement the law before the year ends as seniors cope with the rising costs of commodities. He also calls on the government to clear away red tape and technical delays, which he said hampered the pension fund releases in the past. The lawmaker suggests the pension can be disbursed during COVID-19 vaccinations and along with other financial aids to hasten the distribution to those in need.
Meanwhile, the Federation of Free Farmers warns farmers will be affected if the Department of Agriculture will impose a suggested retail price, or SRP, on selected agricultural products. The group's chairperson, Leonardo Montemayor, said SRP on agri-products could yield losses, especially for farmers. But according to the Department of Agriculture, stakeholders will be consulted before an SRP is imposed. Agriculture Undersecretary Christine Evangelista said that sugar and other agricultural products such as pork and onion are being reviewed.
Yun po yung mga commodities na ating ngayong minomonitor, and we are closely coordinating with our producers po. So ito po yung process para we decide later on if it is time to have a suggested sale price and anong presyo as agreed with our producers and other stakeholders.
A lawmaker has submitted a bill requiring permanent parking space before residents are permitted to buy cars. Eileen Sarudo will tell us why.
Marinduque Representative Lord Alan Velasco said requiring parking spaces would help in lessening traffic congestion in national roads. In his explanatory note, Representative Velasco said there are longer trip times and increased vehicular queuing when roads become parking lots. This situation, he added, is prevalent in 12 metropolitan areas in the country, which includes Metro Manila, Angeles, Cebu, Bacolod, Baguio, Batangas, Cagayan de Oro, Dagupan, Davao, Iloilo, Naga, and Olongapo. Under House Bill number 31, having an adequate parking space will be a requirement for any individual who wishes to purchase a vehicle. This will help prevent vehicles occupying sidewalks. The bill will also direct the Land Transportation Office to verify if the individuals applying for vehicle registration are complying with the said requirement. Anyone proven to violate the proposed law will have their registration revoked, will receive a fine of 50,000 pesos, and they will be prohibited from registering any vehicle for 3 years. Eileen Sarudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid disasters and outbreaks, we are inviting everyone to join the Global Prayer for Humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of 1 John, chapter 3, verse 17, it says, "But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him?" And those are the reasons behind the news August 2, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harley Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.